So if you're unfamiliar with the Adidas Nemeiz line, here's a brief history lesson. In 2017, we got the Nemeiz 17 Plus, a laceless football boot that used some tape to hold your foot in place. 1 year later, we got the Nemeiz 18 Plus, which was mostly the same design, but with more tape. But as of today, Adidas has unveiled the Nemeiz 19 Plus, which, as you can see, now uses all tape. This is what is referred to in the industry as tapenology. What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a first impressions video of the brand new Nemeiz 19 lineup, specifically the two top-end models, the laceless Nemeiz 19 Plus with a retail price of $275, and the laced 19.1, which retails for $225. Both of which are available for pre-order right now in men's as well as youth sizing. So if you're interested in any of the new Nemeiz models, you can get them below the normal retail price with exclusive SR4U coupon codes. Links to all of that down below in the description. So before I share some of my own thoughts, I'm really curious to hear what you guys think of the new Nemeiz, both the 19 Plus and the 19.1. So leave your initial impressions based on how they look down below in the comments. And for those that will ask, yes, I'll be reviewing the 19 Plus, the 19.1, and all the takedown models very soon on the channel. So if you don't want to miss out on those reviews, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with a little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. Also, if you guys enjoy these preview style videos and perhaps would like to see them when new releases come out, don't forget to support this one with a like. I'd also like to thank my good friend and fellow boot nerd, J-Mike from the Unisport channel. Their review of the 19 Plus is already live. You can go ahead and watch that if you haven't seen it already. J-Mike's Instagram is on screen. He's provided me with some great pictures of the new laceless Nemeiz. And also, we do a podcast together if you didn't know. So if you're not already subscribed to the Boot Nerd Podcast YouTube channel, there'll be a little pop-up on screen to the latest episode. Go ahead and check it out and make sure you subscribe. So let's start with the Nemeiz 19 Plus. It's priced at $275, the same as all the other laceless boots. It is, of course, also laceless, a very predictable move from Adidas, considering that it replaces the Nemeiz 18 Plus, which is also a laceless boot. However, when you look at the upper of the Nemeiz 19 Plus, it is very clear to see that they have gone all out and fully committed to the tape band design that was originally introduced on the first generation Nemeiz. As I talked about at the start of this video, it seems like every new generation has seen more and more tape introduced into the upper. This time around, the entire upper is made out of tape, which I'm both excited about as well as a little bit disappointed, and here's why. Modern football boots, especially in the age of knitted and mesh-based uppers, have become very advanced in terms of companies being able to engineer exactly how the upper is going to feel on certain parts of your foot. And this has led to some very advanced materials. Prime Knit from Adidas, Fly Knit from Nike, any kind of knitted upper for the most part. There's a lot of engineering and thought that goes into every square inch of the upper. In the case of the tape-based upper of the Nemeiz 19 Plus and the Nemeiz 19.1 as well, they're effectively just taking elasticated bands, which is nothing revolutionary, and they're putting them together into the shape of a football boot, or a foot, if you will, which is an interesting concept, and it makes sense given what the original Nemeiz first introduced. But at the end of the day, we're paying $275 for basically bands of tape that are stitched together. And that's not to say that the upper is bad, because I haven't tried it myself yet, but I can't deny that it is a little bit gimmicky. So focusing on the tech side of the upper, the Nemeiz 19 Plus is now constructed entirely out of what they're calling tension tape, which is something we've never seen before technically from the Nemeiz line. The first Nemeiz utilized torsion tape as well as agility bandages. For the next generation, they got rid of the torsion tape and just made it all elasticated bands, except for the forefoot and the heel area of the boot, where they had some kind of a material utilized for the sake of touch, which kind of led me to believe that Adidas themselves felt like the agility bandages themselves, these elasticated bands, weren't really a sufficient material for a premium touch on the ball. Obviously, they've changed their mind with this latest generation because we now only have the tension tape as the base material for the entire upper, including the forefoot and toe box area. So I'm told it's relatively thin. I'm told the touch on the ball is fine, but the tension in the tension tape name is what has me a little bit concerned, because based on this picture where there is a little bit of force being applied to the upper, which is inevitably going to happen every single time you bend your foot, you can very clearly see that all of these crossover tension tape bands are losing their tension and pulling away away from your foot. And then there's the collar, which is worrying a lot of people because when you see the boots being held in hand and there's no tension on the tension tape, the opening ends up being very, very small. Obviously, the boots have a mid-cut design, kind of carrying over from what we saw introduced on the Nemesis 18 Plus, which I have to say is probably one of the ugliest collars ever featured on a football boot. This is a little bit more extreme than what they've done here, but I would argue better looking once the boots are actually on feet. I don't think the collar looks bad at that point. Of course, the tension tape is stretchy. So when you go to put your foot in, you stretch out the tension tape along the opening and your foot goes in no problem. I don't expect that to be too big of an issue. And given the fact that so many people seem to complain about the tightness of the collar on almost any mid-cut football boot, because they've made the tightness so tight from the get-go, this means that the collar is inevitably, regardless of whether or not you have maybe really skinny ankles, it's going to wrap your ankle area very closely, which I think is a good thing, but don't expect that to add any kind of ankle support. So aside from the boots maybe just being a little bit weird looking, which is a personal opinion of course, my main concern is the lockdown of the upper, and it's pretty clear based on just the simple silhouette, looking at the boot, that they have changed the shape dramatically, lowering the volume in the toe box and forefoot area, which I think is a good thing, because that was kind of my main complaint going from Nemesis 17 to Nemesis 18. They increased the volume a little bit too much. Looks like they've taken that down, but based on the pictures that I've seen here and based on some of the feedback that I've seen from the Unisport video and J-Mike, is that the lockdown isn't incredible, because while the tension tape is tight when you just put the boots on your feet and you stand there, once you actually start running around and there's the pressure of your entire body moving, pulling on that tension tape, it doesn't appear that there is quite enough tension to prevent the upper from stretching too much, therefore compromising the lockdown. And that's really kind of the issue with laceless boots across the board. So until I tried the boots myself, I don't want to pass judgment on the lockdown, but that is something based on, especially these bands seemingly pulling away from your foot as your foot bends, that the lockdown might be a bit of an issue. Which brings us to the base of the football boots, where you'll have noticed that they now have a split sole construction, what they're calling a torsion system, the replacement or upgrade for the torsion frame sole plate found on the first two generations of Nemesis, which was nothing groundbreaking, so I'm not mad that they've changed it, but based on how this looks, I don't expect it to actually feel that much different. Basically, with the split sole construction, you have a solid sole plate, and then covering up the midfoot area of that sole plate is just basically the material from the upper wrapping underneath, and then you have two stud plates in the forefoot and the heel that of course hold the stud. So it's basically just a regular sole plate construction, but with more pieces of material, more layers essentially. So I expect this to maybe feel a little bit stiffer, but other than that, I don't expect it to be anything groundbreaking. And then as far as the stud pattern is concerned, it is different from the first two generations of Nemesis. It's almost as if they took what they had done with the regular Nemesis models and what they've been doing on the Messi variations and kind of combined the two stud patterns together, where you have these very small kind of oval shaped studs. It's kind of a hybrid of a blade and a conical stud, but it does look like it will be a little bit more aggressive, and it's the same layout we've seen across the board from Adidas for several years now. Which brings us to the Nemesis 19.1, which I have to say does look a lot better in my opinion, and I'm actually excited to try these ones out. They have a retail price of $225, and of course, unlike the $275 Nemesis 19 Plus, these do in fact have a lacing system. So while the upper still utilizes tension tape and looks to have a very similar construction, although there will be some minor variation across the top of the foot, it's still a one-piece upper, but with the addition of laces, I can assure you that the lockdown, the fit, and just overall performance characteristics of the boot likely will be a lot better on the 19.1 versus the 19 Plus. This, of course, is the version of the boot that Messi will be wearing. How customized his version is versus the retail pair, very difficult to say at this point. We can 100% say, though, at this point, that his version does not have a true one-piece upper. It utilizes a burrito-style tongue, very similar to the modified version of the Nemesis 17.1 and 18.1 that he's been wearing for the last couple of years. Moving to the heel area of the Nemesis 19.1, you will notice that it still has that kind of V-cut shape to it, although the front part is a lot lower, which I think is a good design choice, and the back part actually seems to be a little bit lower as well, which was kind of one of my main complaints with the Nemesis 17.1 and 18.1, is that this extension piece at the front and back was just kind of unnecessary. So it looks like they've gone away from that. I would also bet, based on seemingly like there's less material to the upper, that the 19.1, sorry, will probably be a little bit lighter overall. Weight is something that's difficult for me to comment on based on pictures, because there are some stats out there from certain retailers, but those retailers don't even have the boots in stock yet. So I think they're kind of just guessing the weight, but the listed weights they do have do show that the 19.1 is the lighter option. But again, until I can weigh them myself, very, very difficult to say. And then as far as the sole plate and stud pattern is concerned, you pretty much get the exact same setup on the 19.1 as you do on the 19 Plus. The only difference being the finish and aesthetic of the stud plates, where you'll find a wearable finish on the 19 Plus and just pretty much just straight up white plastic on the 19.1. Anyways, guys, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down below in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please support it with a like. Again, keep in mind reviews on these top-end models as well as the takedowns in the new Nemesis line coming very soon, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on those videos. If you're interested in pre-ordering any of the new Nemesis boots below the normal retail price, that is also linked down below, along with all my social media information. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.